Hello everybody, I'm Ramsis.
And I'm TheVespor.
And we're here for another Transformers 1984 episode review. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and please
ring that bell
so we can bring you many more reviews where this came from. Today we're going to take a look at episode number 10, War of the Dinobots, written by Donald F. Glut, and originally aired on November 24th, 1984. Well, it's time for some more Dinobots. Remember in our previous episode, and we hope you've seen our previous episode, SOS Dinobots, they introduced 3 out of the 5 Dinobots, and we gave a little history of the Dinobots, so if you want to know more about the history of the toys Dinobots, please watch that episode, because that's the same history as these 2 characters. It's all 5 were released at the same time, but for some reason they decided to only introduce 3 in the original episode, and I don't know why that's the case.
But you know what? What we do learn is that by the end of the introduction, the first 3 Dinobots, they finally discover that they really need to give them a brain. So you know what? We're going to find out quickly that they gave them about a half a brain, maybe a quarter of a brain at least, you know?
So even though other episodes might have shown up on TV that had the Dinobots, this is technically the second time we are going to see the Dinobots used again. So it makes sense chronologically, but like I said, this is 10th episode, but they probably didn't broadcast it in the right order. So if you're confused as why there's a little history here of the Dinobots, it's because this was supposed to come after the original episode, SOS Dinobots, but it didn't always show up on broadcast in that order, so that's the problem here. But anyway, War of the Dinobots will be a continuation where they introduce Snarl and Swoop. And it's good that they did, because this is an interesting idea to introduce 2 new Dinobots suddenly, but we'll get to that in a bit. So with that all out of the way, Fearless Leader, shall we get to the review of War of the Dinobots?
Oh, absolutely. So let's go ahead and fade in and show a character we haven't seen for quite a little bit. And that character being Chip Chase, sitting in front of this mega telescope.
It's amazing how Chip is always in these dorkiest, most scientific, most elaborate setups that only this however-old teenager is. He gets to be in the most impressive places that most people only dream about. But here he is looking through a mega telescope, and it's like, oh my god, what is that? And it's like, oh, what is that? A meteor! I mean, this thing must be hundreds of feet tall with how big the image of this is in front of the screen.
And I also want to point out that this telescope can also see sound, because we actually hear, in the vacuum of space where sound cannot travel, a whooshing sound.
Yes!
And it's headed right for Earth.
And even Chip realizes, gee, Dr. So-and-so, look at that. The doctor just shrugs at him, and he's like, I better alert the Autobots. That's it. The next scene we see, the Autobots are already driving. So in this episode's defense, they cut out all the nonsense. We are going to assume he talked to him. The Autobots are already rushing there to meet with Chip. That's it.
Which also makes no sense, because if you're that worried about a meteorite striking the Earth, you have contacted the military and go, gee, this thing could blow up a good portion of the United States. Can you intercept this? They'd be like, we're on it. We're the United States military.
And the Autobots all show up, and it's like business as usual. Spike, of course, is there. I guess Spike sleeps at Autobot headquarters now. So
well, I mean, to be fair, they don't really work anymore, so they gotta have a place to crash. As Optimus and them drive up to where Chip is at, Spike, of course, in Japanese anime fashion, sets a flag by going, gee, I'm glad there's no Decepticons involved here.
And it's like, why would you say that? You know the Decepticons are going to show up the second you say that. And of course, Optimus is like, oh, sorry. Spike, why did you say that? I'm always worried about the Decepticons. And now Chip is already out there to meet them.
And that's where Chip tells Optimus where it's going to land and how. And this is where Optimus goes out of character again by going, gee, as he clenches his fist and power circles over it, that they should get the Dinobots to come for backup.
There's no logic behind why his hand is glowing with electric swirls around it, because of the thought of the power within the meteor
that the Decepticons can take. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, Optimus, is this your super villain origin story here?
And then he snaps out of it and he's like, oh, well, let's call the Dinobots. They haven't done anything in a few weeks here. They're sitting around in our closet back there. And they mentioned very clearly that it was Wheeljack and Ratchet's creations of Dinobots. And that's because this is done by the same writer of SOS Dinobots, Donald F. Glut. So that's cool that he ties everything in. I like when continuity takes place in these episodes. That won't happen as much in the second and third season. But first season, they do tie things together with other episodes. And I like when that happens. All right, so now let's see where those Decepticons that Spike claimed aren't around. Because sure enough, they're around. They're in their underwater base. And Megatron Megatron is fuming, and he just happens to be watching, you guessed it, an old VHS recording of their moments from SOS Dinobots where the 3 Dinobots pretty much whipped them pretty badly and set them running with their tails.
Whipped them pretty badly? No, they beat their butts. And the best part is that we see Refractor down here because, you know, he actually uses film. He's not a digital camera, I'm guessing. Was putting on the VHS tape with them. Which raises the second question. We have Teletran 1 has Sky Spy watching all of this, but the Decepticons don't have any of that. Matter of fact, they just rely on Reflector and Soundwave to do everything for them, so I'm not getting where this view came from. Unless they literally pulled a Spaceballs and did this.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
We passed then.
When?
Just now. We're at now.
Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
When will then be now? Soon.
But you can very clearly see it's a tape because Megatron's like, enough! He's getting all mad just watching it, and Reflector pushes a button and the whole screen sort of crackles, so you can see like a program was being stopped. It wasn't just a random...
No, wait, Ramsey, stop! Look at that! Is this the origin story of the Ultimate Warrior?
Oh wow, yes! So Megatron mentions the word warrior a few times, and then his face has the warrior's mask. A dark version of the warrior paint is forming around Megatron as he's getting angry and saying the word warrior.
Well, you know what? This explains everything why everybody hated the Warrior.
Well, yeah. Look at all his ridiculous plans, ideas, and aspirations. I mean, they all come from here. He was such a evil tyrant and a horrible planner that, yeah, it makes perfect sense to me.
Oh, well.
So Starscream is actually going to be better in this episode. I think that's the best way to say it. So I don't know if Donald F. Gluck felt sorry for him or if he just needed like a important character to reveal things to Megatron that were kind of obvious. So Starscream's going to be like, they were brilliant warriors, Megatron. And Megatron's like, ha! Brilliant warriors, you guys are idiots. We just have to find the weaknesses of all of them. Soundwave, I want you to head out to the Dinobots and find out everything there is to know about it. We must find their secrets. They send out Soundwave, and he really doesn't speak much. Even though Soundwave and Megatron played by Frank Welker, the same voice actor, Soundwave barely speaks in this episode, which is amazing.
Well, the thing that I absolutely love about Soundwave is he is obviously my favorite Decepticon. And I always wondered what Optimus Prime could have done if he had Soundwave as his second-hand man. Megatron, the Decepticons, this war had been over 4 million years ago.
There's a moon glowing behind him, the night sky, and it's just solo Soundwave flying up. It's the only member of his whole Decepticon army that Megatron fully trusts to do what he has to.
That's right, and of course he goes and he finds the Autobots in the area where this thing crash lands and just knocks down a few Autobots.
And Soundwave gets to hear this wonderful idea of how to name this meteor by Spike. So Spike's like, golly gee, Chip, it's good to see you. You know, you discovered a meteor. Do you know what this means? We can name it after you. We'll call it
Meteorini Chipperoni or something.
And me and Vespor just blinked at each other. It's like, is that funny, stupid, or just weird? I didn't know how to react to Meteoroni Tripperoni.
He was craving pasta. That's exactly why he was...
Meteoroni Tripperoni.
Absolutely. The best part about all this is, after all this banter, good old Optimus Prime comes up and decides they need to test this meteor after its crash landed didn't explode, which makes no sense to me because he says, stay back, Chip and Spike. We don't know what type of unknown energy this is. It could even hurt Autobots, and then he just shoots a chunk off.
It makes no sense. The leader of the Autobots, the wisest and most powerful, is just like, oh gee, a glowing, highly energetic, infused meteor just crashed in front of us. What should we do? Blam! Shoot off a piece of it and have it analyzed. Like, really? If it turned out to be reactive, we don't know what it will be yet, but shooting it is probably the worst thing you can do. And then when he shoots it off, it's in a perfect circle. So not only did he take a random shot, but the shot that he shoots off is a perfect globe of a circle. I'm like, wow, that was the most amazing random shot imaginable. And Wheeljack gladly takes it like, oh yeah, I'll just take it back to the lab and we'll see what we got.
Well, don't forget, this is showing just how awesome Optimus Prime truly is here. You just don't understand how much of a badass he is until you see this. However, I do also want to point out that Optimus does come up with another idea that you're like, gee, if 3 Dinobots can destroy the entirety of the Decepticons, let's have Wheeljack and Ratchet make 2 more. And you're like,
what?
Where'd that come from?
Right, because he's like, I'm going to have the Dinobots guard this meteorite. So it's in an abandoned town. That's another thing we should mention because it's just, what is the luck that this thing landed in the middle of an abandoned ghost town? It looks like it was an old mining town or something. All the buildings are like dilapidated and empty and it's all no grass anywhere. The meteor landed perfectly in the center of it, like making a perfect circle around it. Like, what did it come in at thousands of miles per hour and then just like sort of hover and slow down as it impacted into the ground.
I have no idea. There should be a gigantic crater here, but whatever.
So Optimus doesn't just leave the 3 Dinobots that are in the middle of the SOS episode. He wanted them destroyed because they were too dangerous. But now we're going to leave these 3 without any other Autobot around to just watch this unknown, unstable, and maybe problematic meteor by themselves, because we know they're powerful, but we also know they lack in any strategy or brains or anything else that would help us. And then Optimus says, you know, I could use 2 more of these. I think we'll have 2 more of them built.
And truthfully, this is the biggest problem with the Transformers, is the fact that, you know, they never really establish how they're made. So now you're just literally showing they just make them at a moment's notice. Why haven't both sides made armies that could have washed over the planet by now?
That is the logical question. Later on, and Vespor knows this as well, they will establish the history and origin and where do baby Transformers come. They do establish all this in later episodes. So Quintessons, Alpha Trion, Vector Sigma, they explain all of it, but we're in season 1 where no one has any ideas. The problem with the Dinobots is they're based on an Earth creation. So even though Transformer vehicles are based on Earth creation, the dinosaurs, you would have to make like Cybertronian creatures that got turned into dinosaurs if you're going to do it that way. So to save the trouble of doing that, we'll just have them built on Earth as dinosaurs. But if it's that easy to build a Transformer, that's very unstoppable, by the way, because they've already proven that the 3 Dinobots are unstoppable, why don't both sides just build armies of these very powerful warriors to join the forces? Again, that question has to be asked because it's not really explained. In SOS Dinobot and in this episode, they're going to show it's quite simple to build a new Transformer if you just have the plans and know how to do it.
The best part about all this is Optimus, being smart, says, Chip, you can really help us with this since you know pretty much everything.
And Chip is using their computer better than they probably themselves can use it. And he's typing away, you know, I think what you need is a Stegosaurus. I think that'll really give you more battlefield. And they show suddenly footage completely solid of a Stegosaurus in the wild. I'm like, wow, where'd they get this footage from?
Maybe Teletran 1 was recording it, but then again, it actually took a volcano erupting to make it activate again, so there you go.
I have no idea where this footage came from. So they have very clear, accurate footage of the dinosaur that Chip is talking about. And also, let's give the Autobot some air support, and then he clicks a few buttons and suddenly a pterodon shows on the screen, flying perfectly. I'm like, boy, where did they get that footage from? Again, we don't know. So that's the 2 dinosaurs they're going to pick. It's going to be a pterodon and a Stegosaurus, and they're going to get right to work on it. Spike is kind of funny in this scene because Spike's like, is there anything you don't know, Chip? And Chip just shrugs, hey, I'm a genius. You know, what can I tell you?
He's got a wheelchair, folks. Be aware, in the 80s, if you were in a wheelchair, you know, you were smarter than Einstein.
That's right. So while this is going on, now let's see where Soundwave got to. Remember, Soundwave was sent to spy on the Dinobots because Megatron's great plan to figure out what are the Dinobots' weaknesses, because I think we can already tell Megatron what the Dinobots' weaknesses are, but I think he's having a little trouble figuring the obvious out. So he's going to send Soundwave, he's going to transform back, and the Dinobots are just standing there all stoic, and they're just like not moving. And then better use brain scanner is like the only line Soundwave has in the whole episode, by the way.
Yes, did you know that he had a brain scanner? But also, earlier, did you realize he had a stupid device that could power up long-dormant Autobot and Skyfire? I mean, he has a gadget for everything, because without Soundwave, the Decepticons would have lost millions of years ago.
So now this is actually an iconic scene. I don't know if Vespor realized that this is kind of one of those famous scenes where all 3 Dinobots quote pretty much their personality. You know, you don't see this much, but it's pretty much explaining the characters very well when we have this brain scan go off. So here's the quote of what happens when all 3 are scanned by Soundwave.
Me Slag want to fight enemies. Optimus strong, but me Grimlock stronger.
Oh, me Sludge. Obey strongest leader. Always obey.
So now we learn that pretty much the obvious. It's Slag is hostile, Grimlock is very arrogant, and Sludge is just a moron. That's pretty much what we learned.
I think Megatron actually said he's stupid.
Sludge is a moron, that is established.
And this is how you develop characters in Transformers. You have Soundwave read their minds. I'm surprised he got anything. They're the Dinobots.
Right, yeah, mind, I don't know what we had there. So Megatron's all excited about this revelation that Soundwave brings up. Aha! Yes, we will play into this weakness. And I'm thinking to myself, you didn't have to scan their brains. This plan would have worked whether you scan the brain. It's a very stupid plan what Megatron does, and it works perfectly. You can see from fighting them, they weren't the most brilliant. Even in the episode SOS Dinobots, as you can see here, Slag was pretty much like saying, let's protect the people that have this face on our chest. I mean, that was the logic to their plan. So I don't know why Megatron went through this elaborate plan. It's pretty obvious.
And Starscream called them brilliant warriors. They're not brilliant warriors. They're just more powerful than all of you put together.
Megatron comes up with his master plan. He's laughing loudly. His mouth is wide open. He's so brilliant. He's like, oh, this is great. and then the meteor will be all mine. It's another one of Megatron and his power sources, because Megatron loves power, you know that.
But don't forget though, the best part about all this is if you look at it objectively, Megatron didn't know a daggone thing about this meteor until he got so obsessed about figuring out the Dinobots' weakness they discovered that, wait a second.
Oh, a meteor, yes.
So if they had ignored this altogether, there had been no Decepticons after it.
That's true.
All I can say is thank goodness for the writer's intervention.
So now Megatron, he arrives with the Seekers, and the Dinobots quickly say, up, Decepticons start attacking, and they just start randomly shooting. And now suddenly the Dinobots can't hit anything. So as we saw in SOS, they were hitting everything. Now all of a sudden they become stormtroopers where they're shooting everywhere and nothing's hitting.
But to be fair, nothing's hurting them either, so I guess that's fine. But if you all seen Dinobots in action, you know they love to get up close and personal, so I don't blame them for not hitting.
And Megatron is like, stop, why must you fight? Because your leader, your boss tells you to. And then Grimlock like is thinking like, what's he talking about? So Megatron's going to play on the whole arrogance of Grimlock, and that's why the arrogance part of his personality was mentioned, where Megatron takes it to be, oh, so if Grimlock was put up against Optimus, he would want the chance to lead. That's what Megatron's playing.
Well, to be fair, in the comic books, Grimlock actually did beat the crap out of Optimus.
Yes, that is true. And every other Autobot that stood up against him. But this is cartoon continuity, which is different. So Megatron pretty much gives like a, I will follow you, oh great and mighty Grimlock. All you have to do is defeat Optimus, and then you will lead all of us. So Megatron's sort of tricking him into, you defeat Optimus, and then even I'll follow you, because obviously you're the most powerful of all Transformers. I'm going to have to follow you. And Grimlock likes this idea. He's like, oh, all right, so yeah, if I defeat Optimus, I'm the leader of all. That's a great idea. And then while he has them all confused, Megatron orders the three Seekers in jet mode to clip onto the meteorite that's laying there and just ship it away. And the Dinobots don't even care about that anymore. Now it's all about Optimus Prime. And then Megatron also plays with their ego. He bows before them and says, oh, great Dinobots, if I may offer some advice on how to get Optimus to you. And then they're listening, and that's where the scene ends. But before we get to any confrontations, we have to build the two new Dinobots.
There is definitely some questionable activities when they're making it. Like them just suddenly shooting something and trying to get to metal out of nothing.
Yeah,
so.
right. Metal just appears on the ground. Robot bodies are being lowered in. I'm like, wow, it's that easy to just push buttons and shoot things and just randomly, and here's a body, and here's a this, and here's that. I'm like, this is crazy. Why don't we have more Transformers? If this is this easy, you can have a whole army of them. Decepticons don't do this like every day and just build more so they have a bigger army. I don't get it.
I do, because look at this.
Oh, all right. So what's this? Alright, so Sparkplug is having a lot of trouble. I think there's something wrong with the document they gave him. What does that say? It says, outline Planzinski.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter if we can read it or not, because right as soon as Sparkplug gets so absolutely confused, Chip rolls right up to inform him exactly what this means.
And then Sparkplug's like, yes, thank you, oh brilliant one. Yeah, so I don't know what this plan was. I don't even know what Sparkplug did this time, but hold the thing upside down. I don't know, it was weird.
This should not be a problem to him, since Sparkplug, Spike fix all the Autobots and sometimes Decepticons, for crying out loud.
Now, before the Dinobots are finished, we have another bit of breaking news. So Chip and Spike are running back to Optimus. Uh-oh, we have trouble. And it's like, what's wrong? We need you and Trailbreaker right away in the lab. Wheeljack says there's problems. So Optimus and Trailbreaker and the two humans run in there, and Wheeljack's like, uh-oh, we got problems. You know how like when the Flash goes super fast, his body sort of shifts and shakes? That's pretty much what Trailbreaker does here. He just does like his body sort of turns into particles as he's like swirling around, and he fires like a force-filled energy beam at the meteor piece just as it explodes, and it's all contained. Ooh,
and it doesn't make any sense, because we've seen in previous episodes, he just points at it. He doesn't break dance, he doesn't turn into a top.
So now we find out, yep, the biggest secret that you should have already known, this meteor is very, very, very unstable, and it's going to explode at any time.
And so Optimus, instead of using the radio that's built into his body to contact the Dinobots, go, hey, Grimlock, you guys need to watch out. This thing could explode at a moment's notice. Don't let anything happen to it. Instead, he sort of fast motions, transforms, and leaves.
He just drives away, and he's gone. I'm like, wow, Optimus sure took charge on this situation. Yeah.
I mean, fact of the matter is, you actually have sports cars that are tons faster than you, but you decide to go out in your big rig form, go inform them. What? This makes no sense.
So all the rest of the Autobots are like, sure, okay, there goes Optimus. So what do we got to do? Well, guys, we're going to introduce the new Dinobots, finally. So now they've assembled some warriors. They got Blue Streak, Ironhide, Sideswipe, and Prowl. Sideswipe is very excited about this because...
Great! I'm finally gonna get in a fight!
And what they're going to do is test the abilities of the Dinobots. So Snarl will burst through the side of the mountain, and Swoop will fly out, and they both land. Wheeljack and Ratchet are like, heh, Autobots try and stop him. So that's when the before mentioned warriors all go after the Dinobots and they pretty much get beat up pretty badly.
Also, Wheeljack and Ratchet also get blasted by Swoop initially. I like Swoop's initiative here. He was actually my favorite Dinobot for a very long time until they made Grimlock, something different in Season 3.
We'll get to Season 3 eventually. Pretty much the fight is, everything the warrior Autobots who were assigned to beat them does backfires, everything bounces around, they hit everything but the Dinobots, and pretty much they're like, alright, test over, that's it. And Blue Streak, in Casey Kasem's voice, is like,
In a real fight, we'd have creamed them. Maybe.
now we say, alright, so these 2 new Dinobots are just as strong as the 3 other Dinobots. So, oh boy, I wonder where this is all leading. Well, we're about to find out, because Optimus suddenly arrives at the crash site and says, wait a minute, the meteor is gone. What is going on here?
Yeah, he doesn't even see the Dinobots, so he's calling back to base when they basically just march out and shoot him.
No more talk, former leader. We destroy you now. It's on. Grimlock, Slag, and Sludge are going full force against Optimus. Optimus is like, please, guys, we're on the same team. I don't want to fight you.
And by the way, folks, Optimus is actually holding his own against the 3 until they decide to make this interesting that they should actually win against him.
Sludge, in his Brontosaurus form, slams the ground, a crack opens up, and Optimus falls into it, which again, you'll see why this is ridiculous.
But don't forget, up to this point, we see whenever he does it, it basically creates a freaking crack to the center of the planet.
That's not the problem at the moment. You'll see why it's a problem. The Dinobots are all firing at Optimus, and that's it. They actually defeat him. Optimus is knocked out from all 3 of them hitting him at once, and he falls into the crack that was just formed, and then you see he merely falls 6 feet.
His body laying flat on his back looks like it's almost even with the top of this crack. So you're like, huh?
How did he fall down that? That looks like the kiddie pool or something that he just stepped into here. This is another weird scene. Optimus dead? And then Grimlock sees that Optimus's arm is twitching or something. No, not dead. We finish him, and then Slag's about to finish him off. And then Grimlock's like, no, don't do that. And then Optimus is like, oh, thank goodness. Their Autobot programming still exists within them. I'm like, wow, all right. So Autobot programming stopped them from finishing him off. Okay, but...
So basically they put a program into them saying, don't shoot a downed foe. And I guess the Decepticons are just like, just shoot them. Very minor
That's the
difference.
change of the program. Now, didn't RoboCop have that same problem with all the objectives? Remember Objective 4? So is that the same thing in the Dinobots? Objective number 4, you may not...
I'm going to have to guess, yeah. What about you?
You may not destroy Optimus under any circumstances if you are an Autobot. I think that's like programmed into them. Can't do it. And it's like, oh no. Yeah, so the Objective 4 was activated within the Dinobots. So they're gonna pretty much capture Optimus and take him to Megatron, which is weird because now all of a sudden Megatron's become their de facto leader when they didn't want Optimus as a leader, but they're alright with Megatron being a leader, whatever.
Like I said, leaps of logic in this episode.
I don't get
leaps of logic.
Optimus' weapon will be in Grimlock's hand and they're flying him back to Megatron. So I want everyone to realize what's going on here. We have a lot of twists and fades.
Yeah, this is where we see true ludicrousness here. Look at this. Remember how before they had to go through this elaborate process using the null ray to get energy and all this?
Oh, yes.
It's now been taken down to one process of Soundwave, just shoot the damn rock.
It'll make no sense, but what happens is fire is streaming out of the meteorite into the energon cubes and it's filling up and they're just like repeating this process. I'm like, didn't Optimus just like shoot it and like a little piece came off before, so now we shoot it and energy's flying over it? Didn't we just establish from Wheeljack that this is very unstable? So how are you able to do that?
It's called bad writing.
Sorry, Donald. We defended you as long as we can here, but yeah, now your writing's getting a little suspect, unfortunately. We understand it's a cartoon and you're limited time, but come on. You have an unstable meteorite, you can't just go around blasting it like it means nothing, and then it's only unstable because it's settled for a time? Well, how does that make any sense? It was flying in the galaxy for how long? Where did this meteorite come from? And Starscream, again, he's having a good moment in this episode, is the only logical one. He's saying, Megatron, that looks very unstable and explosive. I don't think we should be doing this.
Now remember, folks, Starscream was actually a scientist. He flew with Jetfire and they did things together. So he actually has a brain. He doesn't use it half the time. And then Megatron just is just stupid for no reason. It's like, well, then I guess I'll just use yours for mine.
And I would be like, good, use it. Yes, absolutely. You can have all mine. You want all this unstable? You can have it all, Megatron. It would be like my response. But before that conversation gets any farther, guess who shows up? That's right, the Dinobots with the captured Optimus Prime, and Megatron's annoyed. Why did you bring him here? You were supposed to destroy him. And Grimlock's like, you do not order me.
And it doesn't matter because Starscream once again antagonizes them by going, "You're just weak, soft Autobots." I'm like, oh my gosh, Starscream, you had such a good moment ago where you show you had a brain. You're picking on Grimlock, who literally by himself could destroy every single Decepticon there is.
Right, so what is Grimlock's reaction? Well, Starscream hiding under a Thundercracker disguise because he didn't want to be noticed as Starscream. He takes out Optimus's cannon, by the way, and shoots now Starscream, who's back again, so Starscream's now standing there again.
Well, that's because Thundercracker's smart enough knows to not stand there and get shot. I mean, after all we've seen, Thundercracker is tired of putting up with their crap. So, I mean, good job on you, Thundercracker.
Yeah, at least he did something right for Jay. So, Starscream gets shot very badly, and by the way, if you get shot by Optimus' gun, that hurts. This is as powerful as Megatron's gun, so this is not a light tap. In early episodes, they seem to all shrug off being shot by each other, so it really leads to nothing. Grimlock shoots Starscream, Starscream goes flying back, and then we don't know what happens with Starscream. We'll see him again, but nothing's really established. Optimus will take this moment to warn Megatron of the unstableness of the meteorite. And Megatron's like, oh, ha ha ha, of course, you would warn me. That trick won't work.
Optimus should have used his brain and goes, oh no, the meteorite. I've got to get out of here before it explodes. Then Megatron may be like, wait a second.
Yeah, he said, Megatron, you've got to believe me. Like, why would Megatron believe Optimus? Because Megatron's a bad guy, quote unquote, and Optimus is a good guy. Bad guys don't believe the good guys. What is Optimus going to do to get out of the situation? Well, luckily back at headquarters, Sparkplug and Chip are concerned. Gee, Optimus has gone a long time. And then Teletron 1 does his alert, alert. The meteorite has been moved and is unstable. Well, let's get our new Dinobots out there right away. They're the only ones that can fly there. I'm like, what? Optimus drove there in a semi-truck and arrived there in 10 minutes.
They forgot that they drove to the Arctic Circle in 2 minutes. But here's the better thing is, how come Snarl is so damn fast at flying? He isn't like Swoop. Swoop should have got there in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I agree.
And they didn't even follow after them. Look, they're just like, bye guys.
Yeah, all right, Snarl, Swoop, we'll see you later. Yeah, let us know how it goes, boys. All right, we'll see you later. And that's it. They send him away. And now this is the funny moment. Megatron's like, gee, the Energon cubes are glowing very erratically. I think they're unstable, is what Megatron says. And I'm like, is this where you slap yourself in the face and you're like, gee, after 3 Transformers told him, he finally realized this.
And one of them was Optimus Prime.
But just as Starscream's about to glow, guess who shows up? That's right, Swoop and Snarl fly right in, and Swoop's literally carrying Snarl down. So they both left in robot form, but midway, the Swoop transformed into his Pterodon form and carried him there, which is weird, yes.
They should have thought about that before, because that actually makes sense, believe it or not. This makes sense why they arrived on time. But because this is season 1 of the Transformers, we can't have that.
So now Megatron suddenly has become the leader of the other 3 Dinobots. I'm like, wasn't the whole plan that Megatron was going to trick Grimlock using his arrogance to make Grimlock believe he's the leader of all Transformers because he's the most powerful, and that the other 2 will follow along because one just likes to fight and one's an idiot and can't do better than just to follow the strongest Transformer. So the plan was to defeat Optimus because he's the only one holding back from being leader, and then Megatron will follow him. Well, now the new thing seems to be Megatron is like,
Grimlock, Snake, Sludge! Transform and attack!
boy, this took a weird turn of events. So Grimlock left Optimus because he was the leader, but now Megatron has become the de facto leader due to this.
Absolutely, as I said before, we can't have common sense in these things.
So yeah, and to the stupidity of all of this, Grimlock goes along. Oh, Megatron said to stop the other 2 Dinobots. All right, I guess we're going to stop the other 2 Dinobots. And the battle of all battle breaks out. It is a cool battle. All 5 Dinobots are fighting each other, and you see that, you know, Swoop and Snarl are getting beat up the most out of all of them because I guess they're the new characters and they have to...
Well, they hold their own more than you would think so. I mean, they get pushed back, but they work well together and actually hold the other 3 Dinobots to a standstill. Yeah. And that's amazing.
And there is damage, like one of Snarl's fins is broken off, Swoop's wing is bent and burnt, so yeah, there's a lot of damage, but that damage is all gone the next time we see the scene, so hey, I guess they were fixed, insta-repaired or something, but...
Remember, they have their own regeneration systems, that is canon.
Yes, it is canon. The meteor is getting more and more unstable as this fight's going on, and the Decepticons are just watching, by the way. Like, this is a wrestling match, and they're just watching the Dinobots have at it in front of them.
And you know what happens? Guess what? The battle resolves itself, and right as the meteor is about to explode, it gives Optimus Prime a chance to prove that he is the magnanimous leader and tries to hide the fact that he ordered the Dinobots killed to begin with by saving Grimlock.
So he's now going to redeem himself here by saying, oh gee, the planet or city destroy meteor, they don't really specify how much it's supposed to destroy, but it's supposed to be a catastrophic explosion if this thing goes off. And Optimus decides to merely just like sort of hug onto Grimlock and carry him out of the way as they both leap just as it explodes. So now we're going to think, oh, well, this is like an atomic explosion. If it's a 30-foot meteor perfectly circle and it's energy everywhere, this thing's going to explode like a nuclear bomb. Not really. You see rocks flying everywhere in this epic explosion.
And Starscream and Megatron get caught up in it.
Yeah, they get flown back. All the Autobots show up there. It's like, oh, good, all the Autobots are here. And they absolutely over nothing because the battle's over, everything's been resolved. So this huge, epic, explosive meteor turned out to be another dud. Just like our antimatter explosion, this explosion's another dud. So every explosion in Transformers is a dud, is what I'm learning here.
Oh, yeah. And I'm quite certain that we'll see a bigger explosion in the near future that's going to be like, wow.
All that happens is rocks fly everywhere. And Optimus is like, is everyone alright? Is everything okay? Yeah, everything's alright. And then Grimlock furious now because Optimus just saved his life to save him after Grimlock just attacked him.
That is correct.
And Megatron has like a uh-oh look in front of him. Very few are going to put Megatron or Galvatron in their place. Grimlock is one of those that has the honor of doing that. Because if you're saying this to Megatron, you know you have him bad and you have him dripping lubricant in his feet right now because that's how bad this is.
You, Megatron, tricked us. Make us fight good leader, Optimus Prime. Prime risk own life to save us. Bad Megatron!
Decepticons, retreat! Now, quick at once!
So if you want to see Megatron fly away at record speeds, this is all it takes. Grimlock will put the fear of the devil himself into you. That's how bad this is.
But you know the best part about all this? After that wonderful speech, Grimlock just looks at Optimus Prime, says, "You're the best leader," all this stuff, and then finally says, "Optimus Prime, can you forgive me? Grimlock was just jealous of you." Then Optimus, being the true leader, after shaking hands, and looks Grimlock square in the eyes and says,
"The meteorite menace is gone. Let's roll for home."
That's exactly what he said. That's the last line of the episode. It ends right there. So he didn't say, "Of course I forgive you, Grimlock." Yes, Grimlock, I understand. Of course, Grimlock, all is forgiven. Autobots, let's return to base. That's what he said. So in the back of Optimus' mind, you know, all the way until his death and rebirth, he was keeping this in the back of the mind that Grimlock is not to be trusted and he will turn on me at any time and to always watch out for him. And I think that's what we learned from this episode. But that was War of the Dinobots. It's another crazy episode. But a lot of these episodes are crazy. And this is only crazy because it's a weird introduction to characters, and the plot around it makes no sense. But what story makes sense? But anyway, Vespor is our fierce leader. He's one of a kind. You can't rebuild him in the Autobot base, let me tell you that much. What is your review of War of the Dinobots?
I love this one. This was just so over-the-top silly. Now, while I love seeing continuity in Transformers, and they do have actually more continuity than you think for an 80s TV series, leaps of logic in this were just so spectacular. Because you're like, why this? Why would you shoot something where you said this thing could be highly unstable? Let me get a sample of it. Blank. This is just, wow, the peak of, why are you doing this? We literally just said 2 seconds ago we shouldn't do what I just did. And it also shows that, you know, Optimus has a very vindictive side to him. Truly a badass, because he wasn't even fighting the Dinobots seriously, and he still almost took down all 3 of them at once. But overall, I enjoyed this. It was worth watching, especially when he went full Ultimate Warrior. And I will just simply say that I believe this episode is worthy of 3.5 stars. It's got a good, simple, easy to follow storyline, and it actually helps develop the attitudes of all the Dinobots, and also seems to rectify the fact that Wheeljack and Ratchet believe they should put a brain in them before activating him this time around.
I like the episode too. It's very silly, corny. It's the same nonsense we see in a lot of these episodes where the plot is about some powerful device, Megatron learns of it, but that's sort of a B plot because the real plot is the Dinobots themselves. This happens in a lot of 80s cartoons where the evil side will try to manipulate the good side somehow by turning the good side against the good side. It happens more often when the bad guys are trying to turn on the bad guys and they're all against each other. This goes back to cartoons dating all the way back to who knows when. But when the good guys are being tricked into it, it's a fun twist. But it never really goes anywhere is the real problem with this episode. It's like the Dinobots are set to guard this super powerful thing. Why? Why are we just leaving the 3 of them there? Megatron randomly decides, I'm going to find out how to stop the Dinobots. Megatron just randomly happens to find this meteorite just plunked right there. Didn't explode on impact, by the way. It's just plunked right there, just laying there, easier to take. It made no sense. And Starscream actually comes off as the smart one in this episode. Good for Starscream. He really gets any heroic moments. Starscream was the one warning Megatron, stop with the Dinobots, you don't want to go there. Stop with the meteorite, you don't want to go there. Be careful, Megatron. I mean, Starscream was the only one that came logical in this, which is a nice twist of fate, actually. I like the new Dinobots creation, but it made no sense. It was pretty much Optimus was driving home and said, we need 2 more, let's make them. I mean, that was it. It was pretty much like saying, let's have 2 more babies, and all right, there you go. 2 seconds later, you got another baby. That's pretty much how it comes off. Very weird, but that's the introduction of the Dinobots. The fight with the Dinobots is fun. The fight with the Autobots trying to stop the Dinobots was fun. Optimus versus the Dinobots was fun. So all the moments that had Dinobots are fun. Everything else was just stupid. Everything with this meteor was just so stupid. But I love Chip Chase. It is a great character. He is so nerdy and dorky and ridiculous and over the top. How can you not like this character? And he played a great role in this episode too. Me and Vespor don't discuss what our ratings are before we do it, so we have no idea and we don't change our ratings. My rating is also a 3.5 star. He has no idea that was mine, and I had no idea that was mine, but we both feel the same way the episode, apparently. I think it's 3.5. This is one of those you have to see it episodes, but not super special or great. It's just, wow, this is a fun episode and fun situation. It's just the plot itself is a little silly with the overpowered meteor crashing and oh, it's unstable, but all this happens within like the 10 hours that we're interacting with it, but for the thousands of years that it's been traveling, it's been fine until it just plopped itself in front of us, and now it's a plot device. I mean, that's how this whole stupid item came off as. And it also came off as, gee, we need a B plot while we're doing the Dinobots, and that was the B plot they chose here. So all that ruins the episode a little bit, but it's definitely 3.5. I enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. You got to see this episode. All Dinobot episodes are fun in the early years. They get more scattered later on, but early Dinobot episodes, lots of fun. You got to get the toys after seeing this. Who doesn't want Snarl and Swoop now after seeing this episode? I mean, come on.
All I gotta say is, let's be thankful that the Autobots don't send out 5 Dinobots to just destroy the Decepticons, because as I'm looking through the names and episodes of the list, there's nothing here that says called Dinobots Attack and Destroy Decepticons.
No.
End of series.
Exactly. That seems like a pretty big end. But don't forget, they will have a certain construction team that will become their rival soon. We'll get to that eventually. But that was our review of War of the Dinobots, the 10th episode of Season 1 of Transformers 1984. We hope you enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. We thank you so much for the feedback. We know you guys are loving this. We're loving it too, because this is as retro as it gets. This is so much fun looking back at these episodes. And we're going to have the full first season done soon, so stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss it. Tell your friends, tell Transformer fans, tell everybody. Vesper's Retro Reviews, the place to find Transformers Season 1, 1984 Transformer episode reviews. We're going to get to more of them soon. We'll see you all next time on Vesper's Retro Reviews.
So remember, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and
ring that bell. See you all soon on Vesper's Retro Reviews. Bye, everybody.
I can't wait to get to work on this.
Meanwhile, Slag, Grimlock, and Sludge will guard the meteorite against the Decepticons. All right, Autobots, transform!
No matter how many times I see it, it's always outrageous.